Morning, happy Friday, and welcome back. We here. I got a couple news updates for y'all. We're gonna talk about some the follow up around the Organic and Jae Millz back and forth and their dispute. I'm gonna talk about my coverage of it. I'm gonna remind y'all about my status in battle rap. That's just a little general, quick one for people that miss some of the updates along the way, and it's cool. I get it. Not everybody knows everything. Not everybody could know everything about your movement. Um, what else we're gonna do? Y'all say that we don't talk about battles enough, right? And we don't, as a culture, we don't. But I got the Calico and Suge up here, so I'm gonna do a recap of that battle. And make sure y'all hop over to the other channel. I'm probably gonna cover Kodak Black, his recent arrest, as well as a big update for Rajai Jackson. That nasty situation he had in the wrestling ring last week, it has come to a conclusion. So I'm gonna do that on the other channel. But let's get to it. Let me start with a quick status thing. Once again, humbly speaking, I know not everybody knows every detail about what you got going on in your life or your movement or your company or your transitions. And I will probably be reminding fans, for years that I'm a blogger, and I'm totally fine with that. And actually, some of that is an honor because I feel like the 10 plus years of what I'm more well known for, which is running RBE as a league owner. Those 10 plus years, that really becomes like the standard of people's perception. Even like when you see my back and forth with Hassan Campbell, you notice like, and I know he's not really in battle rap, but it's people's general perceptions. He's just like, well, in between battles, you should do this. And I was just like, oh, you don't, I'm retired. I can't expect everybody to know. The same way I see tweets and comments even yesterday, like, yo, ARP is a blogger. Like, I was a blogger before I was a league owner. I'll say that forever. But some people think I'm a better blogger than league owner. Some people think I'm a better league owner than blogger. Some people think I do a decent job at both. But the history of me doing both is pretty well established within battle rap. So I get that even now. You're a blogger, ARP? Yes. The last full pay-per-view event was the 10-year anniversary Max Out 3 event on RBE. I deem that my final event. So I know the one-off thing that I've been like explaining ever since, like some of the private cards that we've done for content. Sometimes they can confuse people. I respect that. I get that. If I wanted to do all-out events, they wouldn't be private, one-off cards and shoots for members-only content, on the channel. I wouldn't. And actually, I probably would have been doing another one this month. This was the one that would have May was the target for Calico versus A Ward. I hope that battle still gets booked. I hope it still goes down. I still like to see it as a fan of that matchup. But as for me, I might do another private card or maybe a couple matches, 2 or 3 matches or something like that. I don't know, for the channel, for members only first, and of course for general YouTube public. Maybe in a couple months or something like that. I got to see how I feel, and that's one thing I like about just being able to check boxes and have fun with booking matches, in like the retirement phase now. It's just like it's I don't have to be in the mix and do all the things it takes to run a league as a league on a year round that I did consistently for 10 plus years. You know what I'm saying? Like even the Saurus who's about to come up. I booked the Saurus like 2 cards back. And even during that rollout, I was saying, this is me booking and checking a box of working with the Saurus. He's a battle rap legend. He's on some people's Mount Rushmores, right? That was checking a box. I like still checking a box on RBE. If me and Lux work together in 2027 or some shit like that, that'll be a box checked. You know what I'm saying? But me running RBE year round as a league owner and doing pay-per-view events and full events and all that, that's over. That's over. So I've gone back to my roots. Now I'm going to transition that into media coverage and expectations. None of us are perfect. There's no backtrack, sucker. There's no backtrack. I ain't backtracking on shit from my blog yesterday. There's nothing being backtracked. In responsible coverage, what you will do is you will apply your experience. You will apply the information in front of you. You will do levels of due diligence, yes. And then you will present your coverage. In blogging format, a lot of times, a lot of it is opinion based. You know what I'm saying? If I was a news channel, it would be like, hey, this person got arrested. The paperwork says this, it's black and white, yada. And we do some of that too, especially on the other channel. But media coverage, every blogger. And that's one thing I don't want to happen. And it's going to happen regardless. I don't know if I'm supposed to be honored by it or if I'm supposed to be like, nah, this could work against me. And that's people separating me from my peers. We're all different. We all have different levels of blogging or differences in style, different levels of integrity. We all do. We do, the bloggers. But we all serve a similar standard. Okay. Now I have a reputation, you know, as a league owner, and it's like, no, you're supposed to do things differently. Well, I do things my way. That's the point. I have always, whatever reputation you put on me is from how I have carried myself in front of y'all for about 13 years. I don't follow no nigga. I do me, and people respect it or they don't. Okay. So whether it's league owner or blogger, you will be getting me. I can guarantee you that. All right. So the responsibility factor, though. Now let me use Jae Millz and Organik specifically, because once again, ain't no backtracking. Unless you have to, and that's humbly speaking by updated reporting, right? The thing about Jae Millz and Organik that I don't like for some of the bloggers, and specifically me as well, I don't like that. I'm gonna be honest this morning. I don't like the vibe of this particular topic having almost like a race division. I don't like that, and I'm glad my take wasn't even with that part of, you know, who's a guest and who's not or whatever. You know, everybody has their different opinions. I see some people agreeing with that, some people disagreeing with that. My take on that was like, nah, I don't. To me, Organic's not a guest, you know. But I feel more of that, and I'm even getting calls about it. Like people see it, and I want y'all to realize, everybody that's in the midst of this conversation, whether you know it or not, there's that element there. You know, there's a Toronto in America element. There's a street rap in these different types of leagues element. There's the white and the black. There's the guessing hip hop and not. And I seen other battle rappers chime in with clips, you know, on Battle Rap Dose. And I don't need to use their name right now. Shout out to homie. I just don't want to look like I'm reaching for others in that respect. I'm not. Like I said, I stand on my own too. I see it. And do I use that as a reminder to some of y'all of what it's like when you actually do neutral blogging and coverage? Okay, well then I won't allow you to have a memory that only goes 24 hours. So for example, I've done 2 videos covering the Organik and the Jae Millz stuff, right? First video I did, it was 50 minutes of, if you're Jae Millz, you probably don't like that blog. I'm being real. Saying like, yo, you're giving off arrogance. You're giving off entitlement. You did it in this situation, did it in that situation. Is the culture turning on you? Here's what you should do to change it. Here's the reasons why you're going through this. You did with Jay Black and Cody and Organik. And Organik was defended as far as the actual perspective in that blog. I didn't really hear nothing. I didn't even hear nothing from Jae Millz, not even a single tweet of him getting, you know, pretty much labels put on him from my own opinions for 50 minutes. I didn't hear shit. 24 hours later, Jae Millz does a Am I the Villain blog? Okay, well, let me tell y'all some behind the scenes stuff. And he puts out public information. Well, he puts out information to the public, right? Same way Organik, nothing stopped him from having tweets to say any offer should be appreciated. I think that's the ringer with most bloggers anyway. But anyway, they're having a public, you know, opinions or back and forth. And this is one thing that I told the Soros, because the Soros and I had a phone call yesterday. And I told him, I said, you came real close. Because like I said, 2 cards back, I worked with the Soros, calling him a legend and saying it was an honor to work with him and all of that. And I stand on that still. Like, I'm not going to be a sucker, but, oh, we had a disagreement on Twitter, because we didn't have that type of respect for each other, or what appeared to be disrespect on the phone. Okay. By the time we got to that end of that call, that's the way it should have been between two men that really want to show honor to each other, which is, no, your opinion is fair and I respect you and I fuck with you. That's towards the end. After you say your position, you stand how you stand, and I stand how I stand. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm glad I extended that to him, because the thing about Twitter, man, I have an ego just like anybody else, but I let my maturity catch me. I said, I know the Soros can get a little flighty with his tweets at people. I said, I'll check it in private. You know? So shout out to the Soros, man. I'm glad we had a good phone call. But this is something, and I'm not trying to be here and tell the details of our conversation. But the one thing that I do want to say about I said it to him is because I feel like it's relevant in general, which is when you approach media and blogging and you're going on information that's presented to the public, you do have the responsibility of interjecting common sense, logic, and also back history. What do I mean by back history? And this is one thing I said to the Soros. I said, Jae Millz and Organic do not have a reputation from my experiences of lying. Will they say things that I disagree with? Sure. The same way I can say things that they disagree with. But I don't remember the last time I cut on a Jae Millz blog and he just said a bunch of lies. You know, like, he doesn't have that reputation to me. Now, if I find out that him or Organic is telling some wild, blatant lies in the public to win an argument or a back and forth, well, then the next time I cover either one of them, I will apply that. That's how that goes. The whole thing about due diligence, you guys don't have a blogger in the space that is going to track down two sides of every story if they feel like they have logical or credible information that's put out to them. That's a fact. So we're not going to change it because Organic and Jae Millz have a dispute. We do want to apply as much due diligence as possible. We do want as much information as possible. But I don't give a fuck who's involved. We're not going to change the standard for all the bloggers that do a good job of blogging for years in the past and years to come. Nobody's going to do that to the bloggers. You're not going to have me wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to Battle Rap Dose or Hip Hop is Real or 15 Minutes of Fame or my Twitter or my Instagram or my DMs or my Sorry Is True and Checks and Balances chat and see Jae Millz does a blog where he says, I was offered $2,500. It was for world domination. It was for 3 rounds plus a 2-round freestyle. It was a main event. It was on World Dom. You're not going to see somebody get that information from Jae Millz and then say, all right, so before I report on this, let me go call Organic. Now, I'm seeing on Twitter people saying, like the Soros, that is easily disputed. Well, that would mean that you're taking the position and saying somebody's lying. And I'm pretty sure the bloggers, including myself, would love that information. So when that information becomes available to the public, if it does, I'm pretty sure responsible bloggers of integrity, which I will also display, will come back and reveal what their updated opinion is. That's how it goes. In here, you think every blogger has communication with every person on both sides of a story? Once again, it's information presented. And then we also do have Organic on Twitter saying, you should have been appreciative. And let me go to that now. I think that's a big hang up in some of this. You know, I think leagues and battle rappers could have disagreements about prices and amounts all day, B. I could offer you $1,000. You could think you're worth 10. You could come to me for 100. I could say, nah, let me give you 40. You know, that happens. I think what really changes things, though, is in disagreements like that, there are legitimate business reasons why somebody would say, nah, this is why I'm trying to get paid or pay the particular amount in question. Right? And then you see a lot of people say, "Hey, I can't tell you what you're worth." Like we put those disclaimers out a lot. Like I say that a lot over my career. Like, "Hey, Eric, I can't tell you what you think you're worth. Which I can just tell you what I'm gonna make." We say that type of shit, right? To try to like gloss it over. At the same token, though, it's a different perspective of debate, and this is all a good debate. I think it's a good topic. When somebody takes the position of, and whatever I offered you, whether like the Saurus is alluding to, I don't want to put words in his mouth. Like it wasn't 2,500. He's alluding to Jae Millz is making things up from his blog, right? He's alluding to those things. And he's also saying that word for word as well. Like, no, he's lying, right? There's receipts, right? So the 2,500 and how you scale it is debatable amongst the parties. But when you say every offer should be appreciated, or when the Saurus, when you tweet, you're not even worth 2,500 plus flight and hotel. That's where we're creating a division as far as perspective in the culture right now. And that's where you're going to have a whole crop of people saying, wait, is he being taken advantage of? Is he being shitted on? Is it because you never worked with him before, or because you think that there's a different turnout or expectation for his draw in Toronto? Or you're gonna have people over here saying like, no, it's not that. Jae Millz hasn't proven himself yet. He hasn't battled acapella yet. His past battles wasn't like, I see the argument on both sides. I see it. But the piece that still stands outside of the numbers and the draw and all that is the opinion of what somebody else should feel about these offers and negotiations. And that's the everything should be appreciated and you're not even worth 2,500, for example. Okay. I think that changes the argument and the debate a little bit. So where does that leave us all? Jae Millz and Organik or anybody else that's covering this topic, as if any further news comes out of it, then people will continue to have their opinions and their takes on it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I saw Organik's tweets. He's talking about should it be picked up on a platform because he wants to address half truths, right? And Jae Millz has a platform. I'm pretty sure that if he hears anything that he disagrees with, he'll respond again, right? And then the public will be left in a position to look at the information presented, okay? But once again, I just want to make sure that people understand, and there are motives out there of, bloggers, don't jump out the window because Jae Millz says this. I think there's certain people that if they say certain things, it would be jumping out the window. But if Organik puts out a tweet right now that said, if Jae Millz never said anything, Organik put out a tweet and said, I offered him $50,000. I would take that statement as newsworthy reporting because I give credibility to Organik. I don't have a million lies on Organik. That's not his reputation. The same goes for Jae Millz, whether you love him or you hate him. Period. All right. We don't cover battles. I gotta cover a battle. And I know y'all think I'm covering this on some other shit. And that's cool too. We got Calico versus Shotgun Suge, the rematch that dropped. I was gonna talk about this battle regardless, okay? Yes, I saw the shots that Calico took at me in the first round. Doesn't bother me at all. If anything, I feel kind of what's Cal's song? WWF, WWE, whatever. I feel that about that. Those shots. As far as what's on the contract or what was said between us as far as setting up the battle, I already have a blog on it. No, it ain't. Oh, I bet you ARP's on the way. No, I already discussed it from a very genuine, honest, and thorough standpoint. That video is on the channel. Maybe I'll link it at the end or put it in the script. I don't know. Well, y'all can go watch it. Cal's gonna say what he got his own reputation to protect, and narratives that he wants to put out there, and so be it. You know what I'm saying? these days, with me being fucking retired, as long as nobody's saying I robbed them and no shit like that, whatever, you want to say that you have a different interpretation, like he said on Hip Hop Is Real, about what the battle was supposed to be. That don't fucking boil my blood. Like, whatever. Okay, Cal, cool. Like, all right, whatever. And then y'all waiting for the punch the whole time, it's a fake smack or whatever. That's WWF, WWE shit to me too. Because in one moment or period of time, Cal would be in spaces and to be like, this league over here, they robbed me or they sent me or they owe me some money or what, something like that. All right. And then it'll be certain conversations between us, 3 conversations back, you tell me on the phone, I'm one of the realest niggas in here. All right. And maybe your perception changed after this whole battle blew up publicly. That's cool too. You know what I'm saying? That's fine. We don't have to ever be on the same page about you versus show off. But anyway, and then it's a fake smack or fake this or this fake ARP or fake organic or whatever. That shit don't bother me. That shit don't bother me at all. So I see that he also did a reference in his third round because this was the first round. Like this was one of the biggest pieces of his first round. Talking about the Calico versus Show Off and the ARP diss. In the third round, I think he says something like, don't talk to me about ARP and Show Off. So what it showed me really, like, let's get on the battle rap side of things. To me, I interpret it as like counter writing. It just looked to me like he expected the storyline of the shit with John and the shit with ARP and Show Off for Suge to bring in his rounds. And he counter wrote to it. That's what it looks like to me. And it's a battle, right? It's offense and defense. Like, do what you do. Now, overall, how do I feel about the battle? I thought it was a solid battle. I did. I thought it was a solid battle. Believe it or not, this is the first YouTube battle drop that I've clicked play on outside of what we dropped on my own channel. The King Los versus Chef Trez, the KD versus Danger Zone, and the Ill Will versus Remedy Loco. And I watch those because they're RBE uploads. I'm watching them, checking them out, see how they look on footage, of course. Other than that, I haven't clicked a single YouTube drop. My interest, I admit it's been low. I need something that really grabs me. That doesn't mean I don't buy pay-per-views. Like, so if it's a nice card or something I want to support or main event or some matches that I was like, oh, I really got to see that, I'll cop the pay-per-view. But outside of pay-per-view, this is the first battle that I clicked in 2026 on some YouTube shit, I think. You know what I'm saying? Outside of RBE. Why? Because I think it's a very significant battle. Of course, there was a lack of promo leading up. But it was still going to matter when it dropped regardless, right? Because it's Calico versus Shotgun Suge. They have a storyline. They're 2 of the biggest names in the culture. You know what I mean? And this is the rematch. And it's in Detroit. The whole Suge, you got to go back to Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting, man. It's a big battle. Solid turnout. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to go down as like the first one. It's not like a history book type of, it's closure, which is cool. When I judged the rounds, I think I gave the first to Calico, even though it was a semi-even round content-wise. Suge had the choke in the first round. So that's the rules, right? If you choke, then it's a wrap. And the third round, I definitely gave the Cal clear. The second round, I'd have to go back and rewatch. I'm not sure who I gave the second round to. It felt closer, So it could have been a more debatable battle to me, but that choke in the first round from Suge is really what pushes the scale, because I think the third round is the only clear round to me. I think Cal was snapping in his third round. I see a lot of comments, everybody and bloggers and recaps, it's the audio thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you call avocado, it's like all the first comments, let's get one thing straight. The audio, that's the first comment. The third comment, audio sounded better on Suge Meta glasses. Like, that's the third comment. And the nigga Cal be rapping, avocado, you my favorite white boy. Call him. It's like, call him. Like, I Avocado is such a professional. And when he says a majority of what he does is to push and to help the culture, he means it, because you can watch I've watched the guy over years not be money hungry, right? So anytime you got to work, you want to be compensated. If you're not trying to be compensated top dollar, that means that you have a passion to a degree, or you're seeing the opportunity in it, or you like the additions that you bring, and you have other reasons that aren't putting money every single time out the gate as the top priority. And he's got to travel with this shit. Like, we be getting battle rappers that don't show up to battles in their own fucking city with bullshit excuses. Avocado's traveling with equipment and whatnot. And I'm not trying to say, don't try to call them up and lowball them. Don't try to lowball them. Don't offer them a stack. Don't offer them the stack out of the 4 digits. Like, don't do that, but contact them. All leagues. Negotiate. Ask him, tell him what you got planned for, what you got going on, where it's happening, how it's happening, what you envision, and negotiate or see if you guys can collaborate, man. Because the audio and the visuals and the overall directing of great production after all of this time in battle rap is what makes us look this versus this. Or your first comment being, let's get one thing straight, the audio versus classic battle. People are paying attention to the audio when we're supposed to be paying attention to the raps. And Calico is a vet. You got to do this type of stuff. Like we got to do this type of stuff. Like, we got to keep the bar high. We got to meet the bar. That's a bar for you, Cal. We got to meet the bar. You know what I'm saying? So next time out, man, Avocado. I saw the close on his 3rd round. He flipped his own slogan about the no-shows. I did also see a tweet that he said he's going to address the no-shows. I want to see what he's going to say about some of the matches. Or maybe he won't address it anymore. I don't know. We'll come back. We'll discuss it if so. But all right. All in all, solid battle. Go check it out. Go to Calico's page and check it out. They say we don't watch battles. Let's watch battles. Let's discuss battles. Okay. But the news is also the news. And when we have these big announcements, we've watched them flood. For example, we're not just talking about the golden era or the heyday, or this is all in the past. It comes down to everybody that has a piece in how this shit goes, but the battlers are still the focal point. They're still the center. And the recent example of that is Cassidy. That's the most recent example of that. Every blogger every day was talking about that matchup. For one reason or another, every day, Cassidy was on a different platform, talking his shit, going off, snapping on Easy to Block Captain, putting out narratives, putting out new talk, new angles. Or that took over for a couple months, it feels like, right? That's all we talked about. So it's doable. The bloggers don't have to only talk about Organik and Jae Millz or you know what I'm saying? We don't have to only talk about that, like drama or whatever. The battles just gotta take a front seat. They gotta be good. We need the cards to actually complete. We need everybody to show up. We need full events. We need buzz. We need, even after the event, we need positive feedback, which means people that didn't see it will go back and say, yo, let me check it out, because I just heard that the audio was great and the visuals was wild, some new visuals that they did, and the matchup was a classic, or the promo leading in, like, damn, they really sold me on this. I didn't even want to see. Yeah, look how many people say, I don't want to see Cassidy, yet he's able in recency to drive the appeal of a battle up the highest. They call that hypocrisy, but that's also attributed to promotion and work ethic. I promise you, and I'm not just speaking for myself here, The bloggers, a majority of the bloggers will be there to push, promote, and talk about actual rap battles if it's made to be worth it. If it's made to be worth it, because the general topics for consistent bloggers that cut on their cameras daily, we don't have enough battle rap related content to keep the fans engaged within what's happening in the battle rap culture. If it was consistent, yo, this person got their ass kicked, this person lost judged, oh, this person, the underdog just won, oh, yo, this person won the tournament, like every day or at least once a week, and it was strong battle rap topics as related to the battles, that's what we would be discussing. Especially if we watched the fans be attracted by it and then click play on those things. But you know what happens with the bloggers? I'm not defending controversy moving and dominating a lot of the headlines, because I report on what the fuck I want to report about. This ain't no fucking try to make people no, I do what I want. Um but the thing about the controversy is every blogger sees on their channel, even recently, what happens when they upload Sue Surf and Math Hoffa are having whatever disagreement. And they see 10, 15, 20,000 views. And then they say, oh, here's my Coffee Brown versus Yoshi G recap. And they see it does 40% or 30% of those views. That's the fans telling them what the interest is. How else do you slice that? That's the fans telling you what the interest is. They're showing you what the actual numbers, which is one of the things in this world that we just can't dispute, the numbers. So it's a collective effort of what the leagues are able to present and the reliability of the presentation, the promo, the battlers promo, the battlers being responsible, being professional, showing up, giving good performances, the bloggers then also promoting with that and covering after the fact. It's a collective effort, and the fans will show us what they care more about. Okay? They will show us what they care more about. And that's the real about accepting the responsibility of the news cycle within the battle rap culture. Everybody has responsibility. Hopefully they don't duck it.